I'm Jonathan Watt with the Tara Group International. We hope you're enjoying our series on mental health. And if you are, please press the like button and consider subscribing to our channel. Today we're talking about 10 Bible verses to fight depression. The first one we're going to bring is 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 17. If anyone destroys God's temple, God will destroy that person, for God's temple is sacred, and you together are that temple. You know, when we're depressed, it can feel difficult to get out of bed some days, but self-care is an important part of fighting depression. If we fail to take care of ourselves, we're sending a message to ourselves and everyone else that we're not worth the effort to care for. And this becomes a cycle. When we look depressed, hair isn't combed, clothes are wrinkled, we don't feel so good about ourselves. And if you're feeling depressed, make a commitment to do these things daily. Shower, brush your teeth, fix your hair, put on clean, unwrinkled clothing, and take care of that God-given temple. A second verse, Psalm chapter 4, verse 8. In peace, I'll lie down and sleep, for you alone, Lord, make me dwell in safety. You know, sometimes when we're depressed, it interferes with our sleep. We might have trouble falling asleep or staying asleep, or we wake up before our alarm goes off still feeling tired. Conversely, we can sleep way too much, and that isn't good for us either. When we think about getting enough rest, we need to focus on quality sleep, which can restore us. Naps usually don't last long enough to be restorative. Even for someone without depression, it's difficult to manage our emotions when we are overtired. Sleep disturbances are unfortunately common in depression and can even be predictive of an upcoming depressive episode. So seek peaceful sleep. Here's the third verse, 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 31. So whether you eat or drink or whatever you do, do it all for the glory of God. Now, have you ever heard someone say they're eating emotionally, or have you ever heard of something about comfort foods? You know, these are foods that make you feel better when you eat them, and sometimes people use foods to self-soothe when they're upset or have had a bad day or when they're distressed. Substituting eating for processing your emotions is not healthy. We're not suggesting you give up every food you enjoy, but eating a variety of fresh, non-processed foods, including, let's say, fruit, some from a vegetable group perhaps, those would be very, very helpful in helping manage your well-being and ensuring that you have enough protein at the same time to keep yourself healthy. These are wonderful ways to combat depression. The healthier we eat, generally the better we feel. The better we feel, the more likely we are to stay active. And the more active we are, the more likely our depressive symptoms will be shorter-lived. Here's a fourth verse, 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 8. Be alert and of sober mind. Your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour. You know, when we're feeling depressed, it's tempting to self-medicate with alcohol or some other substance, and this is only a temporary solution, and it actually has a rebound effect. Once we quit using these substances, our symptoms often return, and they can be worse because of our usage. Many substances, including alcohol, are depressants. They'll make you feel worse and will make fighting depression even more difficult. Substances may also negatively affect your sleep, which further depletes your emotional reserves. So be wise and alert even to these kinds of things. Here's a fifth verse, 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 8. Physical training is of some value, but godliness has value for all things, holding promise for both the present life and the life to come. You know, exercise is a very powerful and effective means to reduce depressive symptoms. When we talk about exercise, we don't mean you have to spend a small fortune on gym equipment or gym membership. It doesn't mean you have to run a 5K daily, because even small amounts of exercise will help us to feel better and relieve depressive symptoms. Even as little as 1 hour per week of exercise can help prevent and even treat depression. When we exercise, our brain releases endorphins, its chemical, which makes us feel better. Verse number 6, Psalm 118, verse 24. This is the day the Lord has made. I'll rejoice and be glad in it. This is a mantra that most Christians have heard. Mantras can be an instrumental tool when we're struggling with depression. Keep in mind, it doesn't have to be this particular scriptural mantra. We need to pick ones which are most meaningful to us. Why? Well, because mantras are powerful reminders which we give to ourselves and that God has given to us. They help us to remain focused on what is important, what we value, the mindset which we want to maintain. Mantras, as we'll call them, are a tool which help us to shift our thoughts patterns from negative to positive thinking. When we think positively, we behave usually in positive ways and have positive feelings. Conversely, negative mantras breed negativity. Now, some Christian mantras you might find helpful, some of these. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Here's another one. The Lord is near to all who call on him. Here's another. The joy of the Lord is my strength. Or all things work together for good. Or even just simply, Jesus loves me. These are mantras, ways to keep ourselves focused. Seventh example, a verse from Isaiah chapter 26, verse 3. You will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are steadfast because they trust in you. People often don't realize that depression and anxiety often go hand in hand. The way this was discovered was when psychotropic medications, which were being prescribed for one symptom, actually reduce the symptoms of the other issue as well. So it's important to remember that anxiety feeds depression and depression feeds anxiety. So another step to fight depression is actually to relax. If you are struggling with coming up with activities, we suggest you watch our video or read our blog on Bible verses to reduce anxiety. For in those pieces, we highlight scriptures and interventions which can help you to reduce your anxiety and relax. Here's an eighth verse, Romans chapter 12, verse 2. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, and then you'll be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. When we're depressed, it's easy to say no. No, I don't feel like going to a Bible study tonight. I'm tired. No, I don't want to go to church on Sunday morning. And there's that woman who always greets me and talks too much. No, I'm not in the mood for all that chit-chat. No, I don't want to meet our friends for lunch. It would just be easier to stay here and eat leftovers by myself. We all know it's easier to say yes to something when we're not depressed. It's easier to find excuses to isolate ourselves, but always saying no is not good. It's not good for us. It's not good for our mental health. It does not lead us to be open to God's will and his plans for us. We're limiting how we say yes to God when we're always saying no. So when you are depressed, even if you don't want to, don't repeatedly say no. Here's a guide. If you would normally say yes to something, then try to say yes even when you're depressed. When we choose yes, we're able to shift our outlook and can act on the yes. For example, if you would normally go and have lunch with someone, go to a Bible study, chat with that greeter at church, whoever, remember to say yes even when you don't feel like it. Ninth Bible verse, John chapter 14, verse 27. Jesus said, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. I don't give you as the world gives. Don't let your hearts be troubled. Don't be afraid." Another way to fight depression is to find an uplifting distraction for periods of time, something that gets your mind off your depression. You could read a novel or watch a funny movie. Why not spend time with family or friends, playing a game or taking a walk? As a kid, I remember blasting our favorite music while we were singing and dancing. It made Saturday morning chores much more fun. If you have a pet, spend quality time with your fur baby. If you like to write, draw, paint, garden, work on cars, do crafts or woodworking, any of these things, spend some time in these creative processes. They're good for you. 10th verse, Proverbs chapter 24, verse 5. It says, "Surely you need guidance to wage war, and victory is won through many advisors." It's difficult to work through lots of negative and painful feelings, let's say of depression, on your own. Sometimes recovering from depression takes support. Your friends and family and church can be wonderful, wonderful support, although it's not the same as going to someone who's a trained professional in dealing with these things. At Atara Group International, we're trained in specific interventions which can help alleviate depression. Our goal is to help you recover and feel like yourself once more. If you think this may be something you're interested in, visit our website. Look at our profiles of our coaches and schedule a 15-minute free consultation. We're eager to respond. Finally, let me just remind you that if you need to call for help because it's an emergency, please do so. If you're experiencing a mental health crisis, such as suicidal thoughts, severe distress, an acute mental health problem, it is essential that you seek immediate assistance from a qualified mental health professional or emergency services. These services are free and they are confidential. You can call the Suicide and Crisis Hotline. You call 988, or if you want, you can call 1-800-273-TALK. And if you prefer or need to text in an emergency, text HOME to 741-741 from anywhere in the United States, 24/7, and they will be ready to help you.